Alright, so this is going to be a quick tutorial on ionic radii. So what is ionic radii? We went over atomic radii before, so ionic is just when the atom actually just gets charged. So we're going to see what happens, what's the difference between the radius when the atom is charged and when it's not charged. Okay, so it's the measure of the size of ions, which is the same thing as atomic radius basically, where it's the center of the atom, the nucleus, all the way to the outside cloud. So that would be the radius of the ion. Okay, what happens to the radius of an atom if it becomes ionized positively? Okay, that's what I kind of want you to think about. I'm not necessarily going to draw this out for you because I kind of want you to imagine it in your head. If you have any questions in class, please let me know. But try to follow along with this. Picture this in your head. All right, so metals become cations. We know that from the previous video on valence electrons as well as the activity we did in class. Metals lose electrons. So they lose negative, they become positive, and we call positive ions cations, if you remember our vocab. When this happens, they lose an electron shell. Okay, so in the case of lithium, it has one valence electron, and that one valence electron, it gets lost, it loses that valence electron, and because it lost a negative, it became positive, but it also lost a shell. So as it was becoming positive, it lost a shell and got smaller because it lost a shell. So here's a picture to kind of help you with that. So we have lithium here, standard size 1.52 picometers, but right when it loses that outside shell, it becomes 0.6. And as you can see with all of these atoms here, whenever they become ionized positively, they got smaller, again because they lost an electron shell. Okay, it still gets smaller as you go across the period and bigger as you go down, but compared to when it was neutral to ionized positively, it gets smaller. Okay. Next, I'm going to ask you the opposite. What happens to the radius of an atom if it becomes ionized negatively? Okay, well we know nonmetals are the ones that become negative, or they're called anions. When this happens, they add an extra electron or electrons to their valence shell. Okay, as you add more electrons, you're not adding another shell, you're just adding more electrons on that shell, it causes more repulsion to happen. As more repulsion happens, that means they're spreading out more. If the electrons are spreading out more, that means the atom is getting bigger. Okay, so it's the exact opposite of the positively charged ions. All right, so we have sodium right here. As it gains 3 electrons, it gets bigger. Oxygen adds 2 electrons, it gets bigger. But as you can see, it actually got smaller compared to the nitrogen ion here. So it still gets smaller going across the period and bigger going down. But compared to the neutral, you can notice that it gets bigger every single time from the yellow to the green. Okay? So if you have any questions on ionic radii, please let me know.